US Ambedkarite member, shall we be using even dhamma chakra pavattan or shall we use dhamma diksha? Rakesh, go to the next page. And we know. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, now.
Okay. So we know Dr. Ambedkar had a 4 newspaper, and during 55 he had a weekly saptahik called Janata. He purposefully changed the name of that saptahik in February 1956. He was sure that he was going to do the Dhamma conversion in that particular year. So he purposefully changed to the name Prabuddha Bharat. And during September, he ran the article Dharma Chakracha Nava Pravartanasati. I think that title should silence all the confusion around the name. Shall we use Dhamma Chakra Pravartan Day or not? This should be the only title. There should not be any confusion. There are other articles also, but today is not the day for that. Maybe we will talk on that some other day. But this should satisfy all our confusion. This is the only thing we will use. There are 1957, I think Yashwantrao Ambedkar was the editor at that time. He also used Dhamma Chakra Pravartan Day Visheshan. Very clear. There is no confusion. Okay, let's move on. The today's topic is standing on the shoulder of giant. Here you will see the Ambedkarite director Paranjit made a movie around a year back called Dhamma. It was a 30 minutes movie. In that movie there was a scene. It was keep popping back on my YouTube short. On the right hand side you will see a girl standing on the bust of Buddha. And there was her father in the field. And her father says to her, don't stand on the God. Don't stand on the back of the God. Like Bhagwan ke upar mat chado. And the girl says, when Buddha himself denied there is no God, why you are calling him God? That's the answers for Dhamma Chakra Pavattan Sutta where Buddha denies the God. But it reminded me of very popular phrase from Sir Isaac Newton where he says, if I was able to see further, it was on standing on the shoulder of giant. Okay, go to the next. Sir Isaac Newton said, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulder of giant. I would like to use that and apply it to Baba Sahib and Buddha. What phrases, what gatha, what verse Baba Sahib used in his speeches to enlighten his audience, to educate his people. So I would like to do a quick presentation on that. Next. These are some of the gurus of Baba Sahib, which I am calling giants. Baba Sahib himself is a giant, but those are the giant Baba Sahib's use, and today only talking about the Buddha. Here is a gatha, Kaini Vacha Udachetasawa. It's the 11th verse from Ratana Sutta. Ratana Sutta, last year in the month of October, we recited at Nakle family's home. Right? You guys remember? That's the Ratana Sutta, 11th phrase. Kaina Vacha Udachetasawa. Baba Sahib Ambedkar used this phrase in his speech at 1927 Mahad, first Parishad, first Mahad Parishad. Go to the next page. Dr. Ambedkar said to his audience, purify body, speech and mind. In Voss volume it says, no lasting progress can be achieved unless we put ourselves through a threefold process of purification. We must improve the tone of our demeanor, retone our pronunciation and revitalize our thought. Kayani Vacha Udachetasawa. Let's go to the next. Before I move to the second message from Baba Sahib in his speech, I would like to quickly show this picture. This is a picture from Yeola, Nashik, where he renounced the Hinduism. don't want to say any message, but here the telltale signs were very clear. The stage, the Baba Sahib image on the Buddha's image on the stage, and the stage decoration like a Sachi Stupa. Very clear sign what Baba Sahib was thinking. Let's go next page. 1936, I kind of put it in a chronological order, easy for me to remember. 1936, Dadar, Bombay Presidency Mahar Conference. In the conference, this was called as like a blueprint of conversion. In this conference, Baba Sahib talk about why the conversion is important, what are the merits and the demerits of conversion. Go to the next page. In that speech, Baba Sahib uses the phrase from Mahaparinibbana Sutta, Attadipa Bhava. Baba Sahib referenced the talk of Buddha and Ananda, where Buddha said to Ananda, be self-illuminating like the sun. Don't be dependent for the light, like the earth. Believe in yourself. Don't be dependent on the earth. Take refuge in your own reasoning. Do not listen to the advice of others. Attadipa Bhava. Moving on, in 1941, Dr. Ambedkar wrote an article in Chatak where he talks about Buddha आणि तिचे राजकीय महत्व, Buddha Jayanti and its political significance. In this speech, Dr. Baba Ambedkar gave a brief biography of Buddha. He compared Buddhism and Hinduism and talks about Hinduism is of no use to the democracy. And he says, if India wants to go on the path of democracy, India has to use Buddha and his Dhamma. Take the guidance from the Buddha and his Dhamma to go on the path of democracy. At the end of his article, he gave the Mahamantra, that is Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. This is quite interesting. So this is around 1950. The novelist Mukul Raj Anand met Baba Sahib one of the morning. And Mukul Raj Anand says, Namaskar, Dr. Ambedkar. And Dr. Ambedkar says, I prefer Buddha's greeting, Om Mani Padme Hum. And as we know, I mean, the literal English meaning is, may the lotus awake. It also means, like, purify the body, speech and mind. But this is a very interesting Om Mani Padme Hum. It's Mani is like a diamond, like represent the Ratana Sutta, and Padam means a lotus. Lotus represent Lotus Sutta. Diamond also means wisdom, and lotus means compassion also. So Dr. Ambedkar uses that phrase with Mukul Raj Anand, the novelist. It's very interesting. Toward the end, you can see, and I will read. Mukul Raj Anand says how thoughtless we are. When he says Namaskar, he says how thoughtless we are. We inherit words without questioning their meaning. Of course, before you, Ambedkar says that perpetuates submission. May the lotus awake is a prayer for enlightenment, the prayer for enlightenment. And kind of both the gentlemen agrees for that. I'm skipping one page for the list. Here is from November 1956. I kind of skip the October 1956. So this is the fourth conference, World Fellowship of Buddhists in Nepal. Actually, Baba Sahib Ambedkar was very sick at this time, and he prepared for a speech, Non-Violence in Buddhism. However, all the attendees asked him to talk about Buddha and Karl Marx. And even though he was not prepared and very sick, he kind of listened to the audience and delivered a very good speech. That speech is a reading book. So he compares the Buddhism and communism, origins of Buddhism, origins of communism. He compares that. But in that speech, Baba Sahib clearly says to audiences, read Dhamma Chakra Pavattan Sutta. He did not specify any particular verse or anything. He says, go read Dhamma Chakra Pavattan Sutta. Go next page again. Actually go back. You will see my underline in the blue. He says, like, it is where the Buddha begins the first sermon in the Dhamma Chakra Pavattan Sutta. Okay, next page. I don't have anything specific anywhere use the Dhamma Chakra Pavattan Sutta, but if I have to take the liberty of using any particular sentence, I will be using from the Buddha and his Dhamma, his magnum opus book. I will say the center of his Dhamma is a man, and the relation of man to man on this earth. That's kind of one of the greatest lines from the Dr. Ambedkar Buddha and his Dhamma. Kalama Sutta, I will speak on that. It says Buddhism encourage the free inquiry, question everything. That's the Kalama Sutta. Baba Sahib used that phrase in the origin of Buddhism at Banaras Hindu University. So here on the occasion of Dhamma conversion on 15th toward the end of the speech, Baba Sahib gives a definition of Buddhism. Very clear definition, that is Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya, Lokanukampaya, Dhamma Adi Kalyanam, Dhamma Madhya Kalyanam, Dhamma Anta Kalyanam. That's very clear-cut definition from Baba Sahib. Buddha uses this to Yasha, when Yasha and his 40 friends converted and embraced Buddhism. That's when Buddha used this phrase in the Diksha Bhumi speech toward the very end, after his comment on the 20th portion of his donation. Just after that, he uses that phrase. Again, I will use here Dr. Ambedkar's phrase. With great difficulty, I have brought this karwa where it is seen today. Let the karwa march on, despite the hurdle that may come. If my efforts are not able to take the karwa ahead, they should leave it where it is, but in no circumstance they should allow the karwa to go back. This is my message to my people. Thank you.